Hi, I'm Anna Akana. You guys asked NowThis your questions about mental health, and I am here to answer them right now. How do I tell my friend that she is spiraling and I am worried about her? Wow, is this about me? I would say don't phrase it in a way that I think you're spiraling. I don't think that's going to be beneficial for anyone to hear. I am the friend that has spiraled very often. I have like really gnarly anxiety, and often my friend group has to reel me back in. You're probably his or her safe space to land. One thing that's really good that my psychologist recommended if you feel someone is in trouble is to ask about the threat level. I always ask, how concerned should I be about this? Are you thinking of hurting yourself? Do you just need to vent to me? Often asking what role you can play for another person helps clarify where they are on the scale. What are your tips for getting through a bad mental health day? Often I just cancel all my plans. I feel like this is not often advised. Like, we're like, honor your word, like do your commitments. But if you're having a bad mental health day, you're probably not gonna be very fun to be around, and you're probably not gonna have fun. So whenever I feel like I just need to take a personal day, I tell everyone, hey, I'm really sorry, I'm having a really bad time. I think it's better if I just stay home, if I feel like I need to be home. Find whatever it is that you need in order to self-soothe, and don't feel afraid of being selfish in that way. One of my friends goes to the ocean. She knows when she's having an anxiety attack or she's having an especially bad mental health day, the only thing that's gonna soothe her is the ocean. Anna, do you suffer from any mental illnesses? Wow, how much time do you have? I have depression, I have generalized anxiety, I used to suffer from an eating disorder, suicidal ideation. You know, being a human is really hard, and I don't think we give all of us enough credit for just how exhausting it is to be alive and exist in this world. I go to therapy pretty regularly, I meditate daily, I journal very often. I think it's all about finding ways to manage your mental illness. I have very conservative parents, me too. How do I talk to them about LGBT, mental health, etc.? Anything that deals with your identity, you want to feel seen by your parents. But I also feel like, not all of us have parents who are great at dealing with these issues. I'd say bring it up in a way that you let them know, like, I'm being vulnerable here. I'm scared to talk about this. I'm afraid. I want your approval and I want your love, and I'm really putting myself out there. You can really prep someone to have a more compassionate response. That said, whatever their response is to these conversations is not on you. If they can't handle your queer identity or your mental illness, that has nothing to do with your self-worth. I know I'm really lucky. My parents were incredibly accepting and loving when I came out, but some of my friends haven't had that experience and have been homeless as a result of that. No matter what, it's important for you to feel safe and feel seen. So if you can have that conversation with your parents and reach that point, that's amazing. And if you can't, they might just be people who can't handle that kind of conversation with you. How can I bring up my diagnosis to my workplace so I know I get the proper time and resources I need? Oh, you should definitely do that. You should go to HR immediately. Get your doctor's note and just go do that. Just do it. Is there any way that I can get mental help over text? I'm too shy to go in person. Yes, actually, crisis text line. You can text hello to 741-741, and they're purely a texting resource for people who have depression, anxiety, and suicidal ideation. There's also the Trevor Project. You kind of have to call in for that one, but I would recommend calling in, after you get used to text resource help. There's nothing like actually talking to a person on the phone. I know it feels like an assault, but just do it. What are some good self-help mental health books? There's so many. I think it depends on what area you want. I'm doing a workbook right now called Mind Over Mood, which is all about emotional regulation. There's also Lost Connections by Johan Hari. There's Your Boundaries, which is also a really great workbook about learning how to honor your boundaries, create boundaries, analyzing where your boundaries even came from, like who modeled them in your younger childhood. And they're all about creating new ones that are very flexible instead of like rigid or permeable. How can I appropriately be there for a friend when they come to me with their problems, but not let my own mental health be compromised? Oh, I've had this issue before. It's okay to set your own boundaries with someone. So if you're someone's only resource, you're their only support system, obviously that's gonna be flooding for you. If you feel like this person is pouring all of their emotion into you and you're not able to create a solid boundary to protect your own mental health, it's okay to set a boundary of like, hey, I really wanna be there for you right now. I can't talk about this because I'm having my own emotional dysregulation. Can we revisit this at a time where I feel like I can be there to support you. Or if you feel like you just can't support this person anymore, advise therapy. Advise them to get some help some other way, or advise them to expand their friend group. One of my former best friends, it was just me and her, and it was fraught with fighting and conflict because we just heavily enmeshed into each other and were so codependent. And then we just got sick of hearing each other's stuff all the time because we were the only resource. We're not meant to only have one person fulfill every need that we possibly have. So encourage her to build up her support system so that not everything is on you. My school doesn't offer a lot of mental health resources. How can I help advocate for more? That's great. Oh my God, the youth today. You guys are so amazing and proactive. You're gonna change the world. I would definitely bring it up with guidance counselors. Also bring it up at those parent-teacher conference meetings. What are they? The PTA? The PTA meetings. Anywhere where it's really boring and people are talking a lot is a place you want to be to advocate for these things. I would find students who are down for that, get petitions signed, make a movement, either a club or some sort, and bring it forth to the school. And if it's what you need, then organize a grassroots movement and grow. What do I do if I can't afford therapy but I desperately need it? So mental health resources, it's annoying because they make it intentionally difficult to find, but there are a lot of therapists who work on what's called a sliding scale. So a lot of friends of mine who cannot afford the traditional $150 to $250 per session therapy, you can go online and actually find therapists in your area who will work for sliding scale. So you can pay as little as $10, $20, $30. And these therapists get subsidized by the government as sort of these are my volunteer hours, these are the things I'm doing to help the community, and then they get the money back from the government that you're unable to pay. There's also BetterHelp, which is a resource that I've heard is really good, which is online, and it's much cheaper than a face-to-face therapist, but they'll do FaceTime and stuff like that. How do you know if a therapist is right for you or wrong for you? First of all, is your therapist listening adequately, or are they just talking at you? Because a therapist can't actually give you really good practical advice unless they're listening to your specific situation. Second, are they actually giving you practical advice? On the opposite hand, you have therapists who only will listen and help you come to your own conclusions. Both of these, I think, work for very specific kinds of people. So sometimes it takes a little bit of going to different therapists and seeing who works best for you. In my personal experience, what works best for me is a therapist who does both. She'll listen when I have a story to tell, she'll offer her practical advice based on her psychology degree, and she's very flexible. I like a therapist who's very flexible about, yes, we're gonna analyze our childhood trauma and know that a lot of our decisions and our belief systems sort of come from this past, but we're not gonna dwell on the past so much that we're just re-traumatizing and re-triggering ourselves constantly. It's more about building the neuroplasticity of your strengths, of how you're gonna move forward. So my therapist actually at the end of every session will do something called strength training. So I did a little online Cliff's Strength Finder test. I came up with my top 5 strengths, and every week I have to tell her exactly in detail how I used each of those strengths. And in that, we're building this idea and reinforcing that I am creative, I am grateful, I am strong, whatever it is that your personal strengths are. Because how often do we actually look at the good parts of ourselves? It's just not the way that we're wired. Our lizard brains are always looking for what's wrong here, what did I do badly, am I gonna die? And it's often, not helpful in the modern day world. So I would find someone who has a practice that really appeals to you, that when you leave you feel good about yourself, that you feel like you have a handle on whatever it is that's going on emotionally, where you feel like the advice that you're getting from your therapist is practical, you can put it into use, and that you're growing as a human being.